Most men these days are weak. Most men cannot handle any adversity. What is going on in this day and age? Well, I think I have a clue. So welcome back to Tyson's Alchemy. On this channel, we try and take boys, turn them into men, and teach them how the mind works through the art of self-hypnosis. So on this day, it's Tuesday currently, and it's just been announced that there's a podcast between Bonnie Blue and Andrew Tate on the Rob Moore podcast coming out. And it got me thinking about father figures and how there is a tremendous lack of father figures out there. And this is essentially why these two characters are thriving right now. Because there are pretty much boys lost out there in the ether, just looking for answers. And Andrew Tate fills that void with raw, extreme masculinity, which is obviously what a lot of young boys need. And vice versa, Bonnie Blue has a huge male following and fan base because of weak boys addicted to the dopamine rush of women, if she's even a fucking woman. Now, here's the thing, right? There's weak men and little boys everywhere because of a lack of responsibility from fathers. Not from women, not from the government, not from aliens, not from God, but from men not taking responsibility. And I get it, we're all in different situations. I too have been disappointed with my own father, okay? Now, to me, my father is a nice man, but he's basically an NPC. He's got no value to offer me apart from just being generically nice. But as you know, if you're probably watching this channel, you're aware that being a nice man isn't enough. So I never had any guidance from my father, or anyone else really for that matter. I had to figure it out, and obviously I was able to kind of find a way to extract things from films and movies and songs, right? That's my story, you've seen that in previous videos. But it doesn't replace the fatherhood that you need. You need the guidance, you need shown how to be strong, you need shown how to deal with pain, adversity, rejection and failure. And if you're not shown these things, you have to go out there and do it yourself. And yes, that is a good antidote to being a lazy fucking doing nothing. Just get out there and try stuff. But if you don't have a mentor or someone with wisdom in your life, a father figure who can teach you about masculinity and how to use it correctly, then you're kind of walking around in the forest in the dark, lost, bumping into trees, bumping into fucking witches, yeah? There's an audience for Bonnie Blue. This audience that watches her, I can only assume have literally nothing going on in their life, nothing of value that they would want to tune into someone like that. And she garners lots of attention because obviously sexual energy is very primal, and if it's not used correctly, you become a slave to it. And I would go out there and say that most of her audience are probably slaves to their own lust. So, and then you've got the other side, which is Andrew Tate, where you've got people like myself who work with Tate and who like what he preaches, but then you've got this whole audience of just young, lost boys who are like, Tate, Bugatti. They're missing the message. They're just too busy. I don't want to use the wrong words here, but they're too busy being a fanboy to Tate rather than trying to get on his level and be an equal or better than Tate. Yeah? They're just praising their idols, and it's completely pathetic, to be honest. So I advise, if you're doing that, please stop, because it's actually embarrassing. You can be inspired by the Tate brothers and whoever else, but don't put them on a pedestal, okay? But this generation seems to have lost any decent father figures. They're very few and far between, and obviously I do my best to be the best father I can be, but I'm the best mentor with some of the G's that I work with in the group. But the only way you can actually deal with this situation, because you might have a father in your life and he might have not taught you much and you feel a little bit bitter about that. I've felt a little bit bitter at times, but at some point along the line, instead of looking back at your past and thinking, oh, come on Dad, you could have helped me with this, you could have done that, you could have shown me this, which is true, that is what's happened for you, maybe for me, or maybe you even lost your dad, maybe your dad's gone now, it happens, parents die, right? And he didn't quite teach you about the world or whatever, there's a tragedy. The point is, for most people in this generation, the father figure isn't there to help guide them. And you're sailing out to sea and you're looking back for that leadership, for that guidance, and there's no one fucking there. That's what it's been like for me anyway. But at some point I had to take responsibility. Responsibility is the key in this situation. You need to take responsibility for everything. You need to try stuff, fail, note down what went wrong, try something different. Not just mindlessly walk around and go, oh, I bumped into a tree, let me just keep walking in that direction. You're in the forest, you're blind, you walk into a tree, you note down, when I took 2 steps to the left, I hit a tree. Don't do that again, and you end up guiding yourself. You need to become the father you always needed. I remember I spoke about the therapy that I went to in a previous video, and it was funny because I kind of overstimulated her with too much trauma, apparently. But I remember the one thing she did say to me before I left. She said, you are the parent you always needed. You know, she was quite impressed with how I was dealing with everything. And she said, you are the parent you always need. You became the person you needed. And this is what I need you to do. Instead of pointing the finger, oh, mum didn't do this, dad didn't do that, he's not doing that, my friends aren't doing this. Point the finger at yourself again and take full accountability. Become the father that you needed. Become that person that can do it. Whatever it is that you feel you're missing in terms of guidance or wisdom, become that. Take steps towards it. Force it. It'll be hard, it'll be difficult. Become the person you needed. Because one day you might have your own children and you might need to be that person. Or you might be able to help and guide someone else. But ultimately you'll be able to guide yourself through knowledge and wisdom. Become the father you always needed. So obviously go watch this latest interview with Bonnie Blue and Tate, and don't give away too much energy watching it, but obviously enjoy all that entertainment and watch it. But make sure you're getting your goals achieved daily, make sure you're getting your workouts in, make sure you're keeping your mind consistent with what you want to do and where you want to go. And have a little think about what I've said, because this generation is getting more and more lost. They're floating around in the ether, just taking pleasures out of thin air, and they just can't seem to focus on any discipline. And sometimes I feel like I'm one of the last crusaders left, and there's not many people left like me, but obviously there'll be an army of Tysons ready to take over at some point. But hopefully you can be one of those G's that have got your shit together and held yourself accountable to what you want to do in life. So remember, self-hypnosis is the key, and get out there and be the dad that you always needed, my boy. You can do it. You're the man.